The following broadcast is a Nighthawk Network presentation. Hey, what's going on, y'all? It's your boy E-Buck in the building. And of course, you know, I am the one they call the Nighthawk. And this is the show that I call the I Am Nighthawk Podshow. What's going on? Happy New Year, everybody. Good to see you. We already got my good buddy Ro checking into the building. Hey, Eric, Happy New Year. What's going on, Ro? Happy New Year to you as well, my friend. Always good to hear from you. And of course, because we love Ro and we want you to love her too, we got to promote Road's business. That would be, of course, the Road to Stardom Radio broadcast pod show in and of itself. Check this out here, y'all. My bad. Wrong one, Road.
On Blog Talk Radio or where most great music podcasts are located. Don't forget to subscribe and show some love.
Absolutely. So you make sure that at some point after you check this out, you go to Spotify, find the Road to Stardom podcast, subscribe and like that thing, and also find her on Facebook, YouTube. You've seen all of the various links. Check her out, and she got some of that merchandise for you too. I got to get some of the merch, Road. I gotta hook that up sooner than later. But you know, my money kind of funny these days. Another story for another show. Nonetheless, people, we are here to talk to y'all this evening about a couple subjects that's been on my mind because, of course, I call this the show where I talk about the things that I think about while you guys are asleep. And I have a couple good ones for you this evening. First and foremost, Happy New Year again to everybody across the world that will see this podcast because, as you know, we are in a network where you may possibly be seeing this in 22 states and 4 different countries. And hopefully we'll expand a little bit more as the year progresses. That is part of tonight's mission, to get some new listeners, some new followers, and to have y'all comment first and foremost above all else. So whether you like it, don't like it, whether you're just checking in for a minute, or you're watching the whole show, by all means, please make sure you comment, say hey, give us a question. If you got some ideas for a show that you would like for me to talk about, some subjects that might interest you a little bit more, by all means, add that to your commentary as well. That being said, good people, let's get into it tonight. I want to talk about a subject that I am calling What Happened to Us and the Elders. What happened to us and the elders? Basically, people, what we're going to talk about this evening on that topic is why it seems like we, the people, are not dealing with our elders quite as well as we have in the past, how we are not benefiting more from the knowledge and wisdom in the history that they can provide us. And when I say we the people, I don't mean all of us. I do mean pretty much most of us, but I also mean some of us also, as in some of my other non-melanated people as well. Because keep in mind, this is not a conversation for all of us, for all our people, because I think some of us do a much better job of showing that type of respect than others. I shall explain. This all started a couple weeks ago when I had a conversation with a young lady by the name of Rosalita. Rosalita, who stays in Southwest Detroit. Shout out to you, my friend. We had a good discussion about what her life was like in her household, where she lives with not only her and her mom and dad, her mama and papa, but she also lives with Primo and Prima, in other words, her auntie, uncle, and also her abuela and abuelita. I do believe, I'm trying to say grandpa and grandpa. My Spanish still needs some work. It really do. But nonetheless, y'all get what I'm saying. Everybody is about 12, 14 deep in her household, and they get along very well, and they all benefit from one another in various ways. And it's just like a whole community within a household in and of itself. Now, some of y'all are saying, I ain't trying to live with all them people in my house. That's too much going on up in there. And I get that. I know how some of y'all feel about these types of things. I get it. But in the same token, once upon a time, it was like that. It was very much like that for many of us, whether it was here in this country or perhaps back in the old country or just back in the day where we stayed at least, if not in the same household, at least in the same community with many of our elders and our family members, okay? Now, of course, the only time several of us get together with family is in those good old family functions known as Christmas, Thanksgiving, so on and so forth. And for people like myself, we don't even do that because, I guess I'm just fuddy-duddy, as some of the people in my family would say. I think I'm going to comment no more on that one right now. Hey, family. Anyway, here's the deal, people. I think when we look at why we are losing that connection with our younger people, particularly anybody that's like 35 and under, I do believe part of the disconnect came from whenever we started breaking away from the extended family connections. I do believe that plays a good part in that. Think about some of the people that you know in your life right now that are having issues with their children or just issues with the household in general, and think about how much their elders come into play in that. Understand, there are people like myself who grew up around my entire family for the most part. Not so much on my father's side, unfortunately, but on my mother's side, there was my aunt and uncles and whatnot, and they all are in that general area of this neighborhood to where I could go to see them, or we would go see them from time to time. So I grew up around my extended family to a degree. At times, there were extended family members that lived in this household. So there was that. There was the year or two where my grandmother babysat for us. There were the several years where my aunt babysat for us. Shout out to my Aunt Beverly. But understand, because of that, we gained a lot of that wisdom from them that we would not get otherwise. Not to mention, it helps us get a better understanding of our parents, because sometimes we could talk to them about things that we couldn't discuss with our actual parents. So there's that. As I look at it now, I see in a lot of the communities that are in this community known as Detroit, such as our Hispanic community, our people from Bangladesh, our people from India, our people from just other cultures in general, they do seem to have a better connection with the elders within their communities. And I think it makes them better people for it. For whatever reason, it seems like the main people in this equation, that will be people of color who are Black, and the people that are called white or Caucasian, if you will, if you prefer, keeping in mind that we are the two major races in America, we don't seem to connect quite as well with that when it comes to our elders. We don't seem to have quite the same respect. Understanding a lot of the other cultures, they often address the elders, even if they're not their actual aunts and uncles, as auntie or uncle. If you've ever watched the show Bob Hart's Abushola, are you familiar with that show on CBS? Where oftentimes they show them with scenes with her actual aunt and uncle. But of course, there are other people in the community that call them aunt and uncle in that type of respectful nature. Even among us, there are people who we often call aunt and uncle. Like I said, I've been Uncle E even before I was Uncle E. You know what I'm saying? There is that. And I'm wondering, where exactly did that disconnect really happen? I think it really started on a few fronts. One, of course, we got to look at when many of our people moved from the southern states to the northern states. I think we lost connections with our family with some of that. We also got to look at when it became more necessary for everybody in the household to work, including our elderly people. There was no retirement. There really not is much of one now, truthfully. I mean, in an ideal world, you see a lot of people in their 60s and 70s still very much working. So you don't have the time to sit and connect with family. Another thing that I look at is the fact that we as people, and again, I'm talking about primarily my black people, my Caucasian people, we don't tend to sit down a lot for dinner as much as they used to back in the day. You know, oftentimes you see in some of those earlier shows, that's one of the main scenes you'll see them sitting down for dinner at night. Yep, sorry y'all, but y'all know how sometimes this light thing get to bother me. This is definitely one of those cases. Um, you know how they sit down for dinner and they're having discussions and whatnot. That doesn't go on nearly as much in our communities right now as it once did, if at all. Like I said, I know for years and years there was a time where you rarely saw two people in this household eating at the same time. Keeping in mind it was once 4, 6, 7, 8 people in this household at one point, and never was there a time where we could say that we all sat down to eat. Even on Thanksgiving, we was kind of up and about and here, there, and to and fro. So there's that. I think we lost some of that connection with that one. The other thing is that since we've started to lose that connection, I think that's part of where the lack of respect comes into play with a lot of this stuff. I recently saw a video, and unfortunately, it would not let me show you that video due to its graphic nature, where there was a customer who got upset with one of the McDonald's managers. Of course, there's several of those videos on there, and perhaps I will post that a little bit later. But this particular customer threw a drink on the manager, then the manager then in turn jumped the kid, and then all of a sudden he had some of the best manners. I'm sorry, sir. I apologize, sir. My bad, sir. When he was all big and bad a couple minutes before. That is part of what I'm talking about. I mean, the fact that nowadays, when you talk to some of our younger people, it's not, hi, how you doing? Hey. You know, when oftentimes I hear them on the phone, you rarely hear them say hello, it seems like. It's like, what up? Or they just start talking. There is no greeting. They just get into it. And then oftentimes they just hang up. You know, you don't get the obligatory later or I love you or any of that more times than not. And that's very disturbing to me. It truly is. And then, of course, when I watch how some of the younger people talk to some of the older people in our generation, it's just ridiculous. I mean, they just go off them. I mean, not only do they talk to them incorrectly and rudely, but oftentimes they degrade and just belittle them as if, aha, you're old, as if old is some type of disease or some type of bad thing that we really should not be contending with. It's truly crazy how that is really taking place. To how now the way we deal with our elderly and our elders is just not a good quality thing to contend with. It really isn't. It bothers me very much. This is something that's been on my mind. I'm curious to hear what some of you guys' comments in regards to that, because I don't know if you guys see it the same way, if you think it's even worse than what I'm saying or not. I don't know if some of you feel like it's not that bad a thing, particularly the younger people that might happen to catch this. If you feel like, no, we're not dealing with them wrong, y'all just looking at it wrong. Because understand, things are different now. And as us older, elderly people, we do have to understand that as well. We can't necessarily give the message to the young people in the way that we got it because it's not received the same. You know, all the time the older people are like, come here, boy, let me tell you something. You can't do that in 2024, particularly in places like Detroit, Chicago, LA, so on and so forth. That ain't going to be received well by many folks, okay? You can't just snatch a child off the street and be like, look, where your mama at and all that type of stuff. These kids different, and their parents is very different. And it was a point in time when you messed up in the neighborhood, your mama got you, your grandma got you, your auntie got you, so on and so forth. It was nothing to play with, okay? These days and ages are different now. We don't see these things the same. We don't deal with these things quite the same. Not at all. Excuse me, but I do recall that now we are on the Instagram as well. And I want to check in with our Instagram people because, that's on a whole little different link here, y'all. So if you are actually commenting on the IG, I kind of have to go through a couple things right quick to make sure that A, you guys see me, and B, that I can comment on you guys as well. So allow me a second to check in here and see if we got it going properly here on the IG. All right, stand by, good people. All right, let's see here. We appear to be playing on the IG and that you guys are seeing me. So shout out to my people on IG. If you are trying to catch the show on IG, by the way, my IG live, you can go to Nighthawk. That's E as in the letter E, NIGHTHAWK. Unlike with these broadcasts where you can go back and check out the rebroadcast, the Instagram you can only catch live at this time. Still working out the technology for that one there, okay? But again, back to these elders, y'all. Let's get into it. Why have we suddenly just said, smurf them old people? Let me break things down for you this way. The average age of a person here in America right now, 2024, is about 39 years of age. To put that in perspective, LeBron James is 39 years old. Okay, let's use LeBron as the example. Now, understand, he is clearly the exception, not the rule. He makes more than the average $52,000 or $54,000 it is now that your average American makes. He obviously is paying more in rent than the average $1,200 rent. He is definitely making more than the minimum wage. That is still a ridiculous federal average of $7.15, even though several states have had minimum wage go up this year. Bravo. But here in Michigan, that still is what, $10.45, $10.50 at the most for minimum wage? It still ain't enough, y'all. Not at all. Separate subject. Anyway, using LeBron at 39 as an example, him being an exception, think about where you are as opposed to where he is. Now, obviously, he has his children, and he is still in good standing with his mother. We don't know what the situation is with the father. Something that is not talked about as far as that goes. As far as we know, his father is still estranged to him. But nonetheless, his family union does tend to deal with each other quite a bit. You see him going to his son's games, his son that's in high school, as well as his son that's in college, as well as his youngest child, the daughter. He does things with her as well. How many of us are invested in that? To where we have our children and we do things with them and we spend quality time with them. Some of us, we would like to, but we're not able to because of work schedules and what have you. Some of us, we would like to, but because of the family dynamic and how it all came to be, whatever that may consist of, it's not happening. So there's that. For those of you who have children, would you want or do you approve of your child speaking badly to elder people, as in people 2-3 times their age, whether they're related to them or not? Is that something that you accept in your family? Do you feel like, okay, you a child, stay in your place, or do you feel like, okay, people are people, it don't matter what age they are, you talk to them however you choose to talk to them? I know some of y'all actually do feel that way about it. I know that because some of the more popular videos on TikTok, on YouTube, are those of kids getting their cuss on, and it's funny and whatnot, and we kiki and laugh about it. But in the same token, it is kind of bad at the same time. Remember, we grew up in a time where it was like, child, you cuss? Oh, you nasty mouth, something. And then the people that raised us grew up in a time like, oh, you cuss? run this soap in your mouth. Here you go. And all these other things that nowadays they'd be like, soap in the mouth? Oh my God. No, don't do that. That's child abuse. And it is. But in the same token, they have to a lot of people, and a lot of them people, they still allowed to tell the story. Am I saying we need to go back to the old ways with everything? No. One, because this is 2024, and some of the old ways are just not only not acceptable, they just not gonna happen, okay? They're against the law, they criminal even. Two, because in this day and age of 2024, we have learned from our past mistakes when it comes to some of this. You would think. Because understand, when you go back to my friend Rosalita and we talk about how the grandmother and all of them stay in the same household, a lot of the traditions that they have are still prevalent in those households. In our other households where we don't have that type of interaction, not so much. That's not always a good thing. That's oftentimes a bad thing, especially now when it seems like a lot of our schools here in America are trying to get away from teaching the history of the country, the true history of the country. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Particularly with people that look like me, if your child does not learn it in school now, where are you going to learn it at? Less and less of us are going to college, and I think that's a trend that's going to continue. I think less and less people, period, are going to start attending college because college is getting more expensive, and I think it will get more expensive as less people go. Two, there's a lot of jobs now that's out there in the market that do not require college education. That's why a lot of states are starting to adopt things to where they're saying, no, you do not require a diploma from a college in order to work at this job, which is actually smart. But in the same token, people have this all stem from the fact that we look at our elderly people like, here's another thing. And of course, I'm always kind of on the fence about this one when I think about my situation when my mother got rest her soul and how it became a point to where she had to have 24-hour care that I could not provide. But a lot of the nursing homes, if you look in them now, I think you will see a lot of people that are white, a lot of people who are black, and not so many that are of the other ethnicities in the country. Your Hispanics, your Asians, and so on and so forth. Why is that? It's not that they are not having older people. If anything, they may have larger populations of older people than we do. But for some reason, they seem to work it out to where a lot of those people do not end up in nursing homes because there are people that are willing to collaborate on taking care of the elderly. In fact, they see it not only as a chore, they actually as a privilege and an honor, as we, the people, do not. We don't see it the same. Why is that? Why has that happened? These are the things I want you guys to think about as we had this discussion. Why is suddenly being old just a whack thing? Being old is something that we look at like, ooh. Like I said, we all grew up like, man, I don't want to get old. But in the same token, as we get older, we're like, yeah, I want to get old. Because nobody wants to die at 39, the average age. And keep in mind, then there's this factor. Think about this for a minute. The average age of the person in today's United States, 39. The average age of the person running the country, that being the Congress, 59. 59. Why is there such a big difference in that, you wonder? Well, think about it. The people that are the most lucrative here in America, where we base a lot of our success on how much money we have, most of those people that have the money are between the ages of what? That's right, 45 and up. 70% of the wealth here in America is owned by people 45 and over, okay? And then when we get to the 25 to 45, it's like about 15%, then it all goes down from there. Not a lot of rich young people out here, okay? Not a lot of rich people in America when we consider what is rich these days. The one percenters, the people that make $250,000 and up a year. That is a small population of Americans to begin with, 1%. So of that 1%, think about how many people who are actually younger than 45 that have that type of money. I mean, of course, we have the athletes, we have some of our actors and actresses. Of course, we have some of the musical artists. You don't see a lot of those people in that tax bracket that are doctors and lawyers and such. That part. So when we consider the elderly and the gap and just the misunderstanding of why we are not dealing with them the same as our other counterparts and our other races, those are things you have to consider as well. We allow the elderly, so to speak, to run the country, but we do not allow them to be a part of our daily lives. Make that make sense. Think about how easier it would be if we can go to this wealth of knowledge and say, okay, I'm not sure what I should do about this. Let me ask grandma, grandpa. Let me ask my uncle. Let me ask my auntie. Let me ask my older cousin. If we felt comfortable as a people doing that and more of us did that, I think we'd be a lot better off, especially if we as a family can say, okay, family, let's pool our resources together and buy these properties or buy this grocery store or buy into this franchise, so on and so forth. Think about the economical benefits that it would have. When I look at, like, for example, Dearborn, in that community, a lot of the people that I know from that they can go to within their community and say, okay, I need help with getting a car. I need help with license. I need help with insurance. And they all have these people that they can send them to that are very helpful in regards to what they need. As people that are Black, as people who are white, do we have that same community? To some degree, we might, some degree, not so much. I don't think that several of us do. And why is that? Is this a fixable thing? Let's talk about that for a minute. Can we fix this issue we seem to have with our elders? I think it's possible, but it's going to take some of the more notable younger people to make that acceptable and cool, because we are in this society where the younger people are about the likes, about the notoriety, about this is what's getting me put on, this is what makes me go viral. So are you more likely to go viral from hugging an older person or helping an older person across the street? Or are you more likely to go viral from slapping a older person or spitting on them? In America, I think we already know the answer to that one, don't we? We do, unfortunately. And then, of course, I always go back to one of the things I talked about in the good old get off my lawn days. Would we have dealt with COVID differently if it affected the young people more than the older people? If it was the younger people who were dying as opposed to the older people, I most certainly think we would. I think we would have dealt with it a lot. If we definitely would have dealt with it better if it was more of the people of affluence that were dying as opposed to the poor people, the people that could not afford the proper health care to do what they need to do in order to get healthy and fight the battle that was C-19. That part. At some point, people, we got to start looking more toward why we do some of what we do. Why has it become what it has become? Because only when we do that, I feel, is that's when we are able to get some of the solutions necessary to start to fix some of these issues. Otherwise, we are just continuing to make a bad situation worse day by day. And at some point, just being tired of it can't be enough. At some point, we got to start finding solutions to the problem. So I say, in terms of this issue, let us start to look at some of our people from other places across the world and see how they deal with their elders and see if we can learn from that. Let's try to go back to what goes on in the mother country that is Africa, where we come from, people. Once upon a time, we always talk about the village, and we look at the fictional place that is Wakanda. Do you think people in Wakanda would deal with their elderly people the way that we do? I doubt it. Wakanda forever, people. Forever means now, too. Let's try to do a little bit better with that. That's all I'm saying. Something to think about. That being said, that is what I have to say on that subject. If you have any other comments in regards to that later on down the line, feel free to chime in the comments or drop me a messenger or whatnot later on. Let me know what you like, what you didn't like, what I should have said, what I could have said, so on and so forth. In the meanwhile, we're going to take this commercial break. When we come back, I'll ask to talk about another subject this evening. I want to talk about naps. Yeah, naps. He said naps. He said naps. This is the I Am Nighthawk Podshow. I'm your boy E-Buck the Nighthawk. We'll be back after these words from the people of the Nighthawk Network.
Hello, hello, hello. It's another glorious day, my tea sippers, and you know what time it is. I hope you have all of your comforts together because it's time to dish tea. And you're dishing tea, darlings, with Big Meat.
Can't wait. It's time to dish tea with Big Meat. It's time to dish tea with Big Meat. It's time to dish tea with Big Meat. It's time to dish tea with Big Meat.
Darling.
Hey, bitches. Wait a minute, hold on, Miss Hologram. Hold on. Yeah, it's about that time, but it's about that time for the remix with your boy Derek. Let's talk about it.
Coming to you live from the iconic city of Baltimore. This is Hey Bitches, the remix with your boy Derek, part of the Nighthawk Network. Nighthawk Network, our voices for our people. And now here's Derek. Hey, y'all, what's going on? I just had to go there for a minute, because, of course, Aunt Nikki and Big Meat are still very much part of Nighthawk Network. We don't see them nearly as much as we would like, but, of course, they are always in our thoughts. And, of course, I can't help but think about my buddy H2. Think about him, her, him. Every day. Every day. I miss my friend very, very much. I think definitely would have liked the direction that the network is going in, and definitely would have been very helpful in some of the things that I could help or use help with now in regards to that and just everyday life. It was just good talking to my buddy H2 every day. I just very much miss that. So every now and then I'm just going to throw some of the H2 stuff in there. Y'all just going to understand, okay? That part there. Anyway, good people, we are back with the I Am Nighthawk Podshow. I'm your boy E-Buck, the Nighthawk. We're going to try to rabbit out the glasses again. Sometimes with the medications that I take, the light tends to bother my eyes more so than it has. Because of that, sometimes I got to go to the glasses just to kind of divert some of that light from my eyes. But, of course, if I don't have no light, then I can't get the proper whatchamacallit in the studio. You know what I'm saying. Anyway, we are back. I need to talk to y'all about this thing called nap, okay? Now, understand I'm still going through the process of getting my health in order. There's a litany of tests that I need to take in the next 90 to 120 days to determine if I'm getting any better or any worse. From that, other determinations will be made into effect. In the meanwhile, I am still working every day and trying to make a living and get some of these debts off my butt. Because of what I'm doing for work, I do have the kind of autonomy to kind of take time here and there to take breaks. And what I have noticed in the last week or so, it is definitely helpful for me because of my scheduling that I'm able to sometimes shut it down for a bit and take a little nap. Because I myself am finding it rather helpful, particularly this time when I'm not quite as exhausted as I would be at this point in the day. But I kind of want to get into it. I found a couple of videos that are talking about the benefits or lack thereof benefits of napping. I'm going to play them for you, then we'll discuss. Okay, check it out.
Designed to nap during the day. Most people aim to get their recommended 7 to 9 hours of sleep in one long stretch at night. And the technical term for this is monophasic sleep. In other words, a single bout of sleep at night. However, we may not have been programmed to sleep in this way. Now, I'm sure you've had that experience of a drop in your alertness in the afternoon where you start to feel a little sleepy. And you can also see it in other people as well, as their heads begin sort of bobbing up and down during afternoon meetings. Now, you may think this afternoon drop in your alertness is because of a big lunch. But in actual fact, it seems to be hardwired. Because if I place electrodes on your head, there is a reliable pre-programmed drop in your brain's alertness during the afternoon. And it happens to most of us somewhere between the 1 to 4 p.m. mark. What this suggests is that we may have been designed to sleep in a biphasic pattern, meaning one longer bout of sleep at night and then a short afternoon nap during the day. Very much like the siesta cultures around the world. But is napping always a good thing? Well, not necessarily. Although we and other scientists have discovered that naps can have benefits for both the brain and for the body, naps can be a double-edged sword. Long naps in the afternoon or in the early evening can just take the edge off your sleepiness. It's a little bit like snacking before your main meal. So if you are struggling with sleep at night, the best advice is not to nap during the day. Instead, build up all of that healthy sleepiness so that you give yourself the best chance of falling asleep easily and then staying asleep soundly across the night. But if you're not struggling with sleep and you can nap regularly during the day, then naps of around 20 minutes taken early in the day can be just fine.
Is taking a nap a good idea? Have you ever thought about taking a nap? Hi, I'm Dr. Lawrence Woods, and today I'm going to discuss napping. Humans and most mammals are what are called polyphasic sleepers. This means we sleep in completed 2 or more periods within a 24-hour cycle. For example, dogs, cats, and other mammals, either domesticated or wild, take short naps throughout the day. However, our modern lifestyles are based on a monophasic sleep schedule. This means we go to sleep once rather than multiple times during the day. And while this may be the most efficient productivity in a technologically based world, evidence suggests that this sleep schedule might be making us more sleep deprived. Similar studies also point out that monophasic sleep may not be natural for humans, especially by judging the behavior of other species. Instead, what might be best is a polyphasic sleep schedule, meaning lots of naps. That being said, the question we must ask is, what does it mean to take a nap well? And what are the benefits of napping? Well, here's a short guide to understanding and mastering the art of napping. Napping is a natural part of living that has tremendous benefits for both your mind and your body. As well as making you feel more rested physically, napping has been proven to increase your memory function and increase your brain resiliency by life's challenges by reducing your irritability and your stress levels. And get this, counterintuitively, napping can often enhance your ability to sleep better at night, as long as we're mindful about how and when we sleep. So if you're fatigued on a daily basis, or if you're looking for a way to boost your memory and energy, napping could be an effective way for you to improve your quality of life. Whether you're a person who naps or not, here are some ways how naps can influence both our physical and mental well-being. One study found that because naps increase our daily sleep time, they increase the positive impacts of regular sleep as well. In this study, the participants were asked to engage in a nap routine, and this included napping for either 45 minutes or 2 hours every day for a solid month. And regardless of the length of the nap, all participants in this study increased their daily sleep time, with their nighttime sleep cycle not even being disrupted. The study also found that these naps also help people sleep better and longer. Napping increases time spent in slow wave or rapid eye movement, REM sleep, which is thought to play important roles in restoring the body and brain function. While napping is usually a good idea, is it possible to get too much sleep in certain circumstances? As with any new behavior or changing activity, it's always essential to know reasonable precautions before getting started. For example, those of you out there who might be struggling with, let's say, insomnia, might feel inclined to sleep during the day for long periods to make up for the lack of sleep that you missed at night. However, this sometimes can perpetuate that problem. This is because sleeping for too long during the day disrupts or throws off your natural circadian rhythm, and this creates this kind of shift worker schedule where your body wants to be awake at night and sleep during the day. The time of day you nap matters. This is because napping too late in the day might make it difficult to fall asleep. So if you're considering napping to your daily routine, you're probably wondering what's the best time to nap. And so as a general rule, it's best not to nap after 5 p.m. Additionally, for those of you out there who are as sensitive to sleep disruptions, you might want to avoid naps after 4 p.m. to ensure to get a decent night's sleep. Typically, it's suggested taking a nap anywhere between 2 and 3 p.m., which is best. And this is attributed to most people eat lunch around noon. So when you eat lunch, your blood sugar goes up, your energy levels start dipping. Additionally, the body's clock is often programmed to make you feel a little sleepy in the middle of the afternoon. So how long is the ideal nap? The precise amount of time you need depends on the whole variety of factors. These include your age, your physical activity level, and your overall health. But that in mind, here are some different types of naps and their benefits. Napping should be approached mindfully. For example, you may decide you want to nap more often, especially if you're feeling uncharacteristically tired during the day, or you just want to up your game by adding it to your routine. So how long is the ideal nap? The precise amount of time you need for rest depends on a whole variety of factors. These include your age, your physical activity levels, and your overall health. But that in mind, here are some different types of naps and their benefits. Napping should be approached mindfully. For example, you may decide you want to nap more often if you're feeling uncharacteristically tired during the day, or you may just want to up your game by...
All right, people, I think you get the gist of what we're talking about here. So we're discussing the benefits or lack thereof of napping. Now, again, I myself have kind of got into this even more so in the last week or so, because I found that around that same time that he mentioned, somewhere pretty much around lunchtime, 1, 2 o'clock, I was getting really tired. And it was affecting not only my memory, but also, as we got Charles checking into the game. What's going on, Charles? Happy New Year, my friend. Basically, we were losing our memory. We were not functioning well at that part of the day. I was basically getting really frustrated with it. So about a week ago, kind of shut things down for a minute and took a nap for about an hour. And I was doing much better after that. So the next day did the same thing, and it kind of worked. So the last week and a half or so, I've been trying to set up my schedule to where I can take that nap and see how it affects the rest of my day. And I must admit, so far, so good. It's working pretty well for me, the whole nap schedule thing. So I'm going to try to keep it going, because I think it is crucial that I do this to where I'm not feeling so cranky and so wore down at the end of the day. And like I said, so far so good. Now I know for some of you, you can't really set your schedule up that way because of how your life or your work works. So that this discussion is just ludicrous to you because it just ain't happening. And for some of you, you may not feel it necessary. You may be doing a very good job of getting some quality rest at night. And during the day, you don't really get tired like that. I know that at some point, my friends, that I too used to feel that way. I basically got up and I was up and I was good with it. No nap necessary. Ran through the whole day, no problem. Didn't have no signs of tired, any of that. As I am older, though, I am learning my body work a little different. And I think a lot of people of a particular age can relate to that. As you get older, your body does not react the way that it once did. And sometimes you just need to kind of shut things down early, or you need to take that nap if you can. And I suggest, based on my personal journey with it, if you can get some nap in, get some nap in. Now, I myself have been going with about 60 minutes of nap time. I think that's pretty much quality. I mean, keep in mind, usually when I'm taking my nap, it takes me about a good 10 minutes to fall asleep. And then I'm asleep for a good 40. Alarm go off. I might hit a snooze a time or two and then get on up. And that works for me. You have to find what works for you, because one of the people I talked to today said that part of their problem with taking a nap is that when they take that nap, they get up and they still feel tired. They feel like, yeah, maybe I need to go back to sleep for longer. And as a result of that, they end up missing out on certain things or not able to properly function once they get up. Because some people, they need that time to kind of shake off the cobwebs and all that. I definitely do need that in the morning. Pretty much, I usually set my alarm for about 30 minutes prior to when I'm really going to get up. Because when I first get up, it's a struggle. But once I'm up, I'm up. But yeah, that is not good. Heather is checking in. Hello, Heather. Happy New Year to you, my friend. Thank you for checking in. I appreciate it. Yeah, knowing your life, at least from what I know of your life, you probably definitely could benefit from some nap time if you get a chance to take that nap. You got a lot going on there in your world. I do know. At least I can relate to as much as I can relate to it. So this conversation definitely for you. Plus, not to put you out there, but I know you also have had a couple health situations in recent times. So you get it. Heather saying, what's a nap time? I wish. I understand. Like I said, in your world, taking a nap is probably crazy. Charles says, can I call you sometimes? Charles, you are here on the show. Always feel free to check in with us, friend, and let us know how you're doing. That should suffice for you, my guy. But people, here's the thing. As you get older, as life gets greater, as you have all these other things that go on that are different than when you were just a kid, all you had to worry about was being a kid, you got to start looking at things a little differently, okay? You have to start dealing with yourself a little differently. You got to do a better job of managing your time, your health, your people, your lifestyle, all that good stuff. So if you could do anything that's going to bring some extra quality of life to you, by all means, you should try to do that. Heather is saying, life is so different now. The world is a different place. It truly is. It truly is, because think about it. There was a point in time, if you go back in history and you look at some, again, going back to my conversation earlier about different cultures and whatnot, if you go into that, there was this thing. Well, actually, the word in Espanol is siesta, where basically they took the time out during the day where they shut everything down in the town and everybody got their nap on or they chill on for a little bit, and then they went back to doing what they did. There are several cultures where that type of behavior took place. Again, we have gotten away from some of the old ways and the old dealing as we didn't gotten to the technological phase of technology and whatnot. I mean, keep in mind, For those of you who work at an office job, for those of you who may be law enforcement or what have you, for those people who drive buses and whatnot, you can't just up and take a nap. Time and job situation does not set you up for that. Once upon a time, I was a person who worked not only as a manager of a fast food place, but also at FedEx. And I did that job back to back. There was no nap time. On a good day, I might be able to catch a few minutes in my car and just kind of sit there for a minute and then go to work. But there was no time for napping. Like I said, Heather is not only a person who's working, but she is a mom of several children. So I understand her saying the nap thing is just not. I mean, I'm sure there's always something going on at your household, Heather, to where taking a nap just would not be. I'm pretty sure it may even be times when you actually sleep and you can't really sleep because of what may transpire throughout the course of the evening and whatnot. I get it. Heather says, always, exactly. Like I said, I understand my friend as much as I possibly could as a person with no children, but knowing many people who do have children that are in my individual circle, you being one of them. The nap thing is good for me because, like I said, I'm concerned about when I'm feeling not so good. And part of, like I said, with me going to the various doctor's appointments I got to is to figure out how much of that is the health problems that I had previously, how much of that is just me being 53, how much of that is just me being overweight, how much of that is just the circle of life dealing with my body. Charles is saying, I'm going to hug you when I see you. All right, Charles. When all is said and done, people, like I said, whatever we could do to make things a little bit better and easier on ourselves, we should try to do that. Heather, my advice about the nap thing is good luck. Like I said, I know based on how things are set up with you, that's probably just not going to happen. But at least try to take a few minutes to get away from everybody some kind of way and just get your woosah on, play a good song and all of that type of stuff. If you can. Like I said, I know it's not easy, but you got to be able to take care of you too. Mom is no good to everybody if mom is always tired and exhausted and so on. Heather is saying, I feel like my uncontrolled health problems make me tired. I'm sure part of that is the case, Heather. Like I said, since we have some of the same health problems, I can definitely relate. I'm always feeling exhausted. I wake up tired. I need some vitamins or something. Yep, definitely something that you should discuss with your healthcare provider. Like I said, I definitely want to talk to my nutritionist and my doctor about different vitamins and supplements and whatnot. Charles is saying he likes Janet Jackson and Embo. I guess he is discussing the musical therapy that I talked about. Like I said, it's always good if you could take a few minutes, Charles, and just kind of relax and turn some music on and kind of shut your mind down from whatever's going on. Yeah, like I said, we got to do what we can. That's all we can do. So like I said, I am fortunate that I'm able to get my nap on, so I will continue to do so. Again, there are those videos that I showed you and several others on the YouTube. By all means, feel free to look up that and see if any of them are helpful to you, or if you want to find out more information about the napping thing, and if that's going to fit your lifestyle and whatnot, make your own choices. You know, I always encourage you all to do your research. Before we head on out this evening, I want to take a few quick extra notes. First of all, prayers for anybody who may have people in Japan. As you know, Japan had a major earthquake on New Year's Day, and they're still going through some things because of that. So prayers for them. Of course, prayers to anyone who have people in Israel or in Palestine that are dealing with that situation there. Picking no sides here on the broadcast. Like I said, nobody wins in the war, nobody at all. And the fact that anybody has to die for any reason that is not related to old age is a bad thing in my word. So prayers for people on either side of that. Of course, prayers for people in the Ukraine and prayers for any of you who have lost someone recently or are in some type of situation that requires prayer. You are on the prayer list this week as well. When somebody hurts me, you will be mad, says Charles. Yeah, don't want to see nothing bad happen to you, Charles. Hopefully that does not happen. Prayer for you as well, my friend. That's pretty much what I got this week, y'all. That is it for the I Am Nighthawk Podshow. Thank you for all who checked in and chimed in with your comments. Especially liked hearing from you, Heather. Good to hear from you, my friend. Please take care of you and your family and take care of yourself. Find some time to just be Heather, okay? Because I like that person I always have. That being said, I'm about to not nap. I'm about to sleep after I watch a little TV, of course. But until the next time we see each other, which will be tomorrow when we do the good old podcast we call the Big Bus Sports Report, have a good evening. Again, Happy New Year to you guys. And Heather says, get some rest and same to you. Absolutely, Heather. And that's pretty much going to do it, y'all. Like I said, next week we'll be back with more things to talk about because there's always things to think about. Remember, be good. Be blessed. Don't stress. Put it in the hands of the Lord and let him deal with the rest, all right? We done finally made a little bit of an outro, y'all. We found a little time to do that. We're going to enhance it later, but for now, this should suffice. Until the next time, good people, we out. This has been the I Am Nighthawk Podcast. A Nighthawk Network presentation. Nighthawk Network, our voices for our people.